Hi witches, welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone had a fantastic time celebrating Samhain on Monday. If you did, before we jump into the video, I just want to say a super belated and super grateful shout out to both Hazel and Salem for joining my Patreon. I'm not sure what happened. I was like not getting notifications for a while from like messages or anything, and I'm just like, frustration. But hopefully that is all behind us. The last couple months have been really chaotic for me, but I really feel like this kind of energy shift following Samhain, and I'm excited to talk about that a little bit further next week, but yeah, I just think some good things are coming, and I'm optimistic. So to my patrons who have supported me and have stood by me, even in times where I just really feel like I don't deserve the support, I just want to say thank you, like, so much. We will be having our full moon celebration on Tuesday, November 8th at 8 p.m. It's an exclusive Patreon live ritual, so I will be reaching out to you guys over on Patreon. If you wanted to join us, feel free. It is available to all levels of patronage, so feel free to join if you would like. There's also some extra content over there, and I'm going to be a lot more consistent about uploading this month. Now for today, we are going to be discussing the full Beaver Moon in Taurus, as well as the lunar eclipse that is accompanying it on Tuesday, November 8th. So the Beaver Moon reaches the peak of illumination. It's going to be the brightest in the sky Tuesday, November 8th at about 6 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time, which is my standard time. I know there was like a little bit of confusion before on TikTok, like where I put the date and they were like, that's not what it says for my country. And I'm like, well, it's because you're on the other side of the world and it's tomorrow already. I'm sorry. So just be sure that you're doing the calculations. I don't want anybody to miss it, and I feel bad if I've like misled anybody into like thinking all that. Anyways, time is fake, but around 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when you'll be able to see the moon at its brightest. Now this year, the full Beaver Moon is also accompanied by a total lunar eclipse, which I love. I think is awesome. I love eclipse season. I feel like I'm probably the only witch who feels that way. Like, I feel like I'm at a point where I'm like, you know what, universe, just take the reins, which I'm now realizing is a very pagan way to say Jesus take the wheel. While chaotic, eclipse seasons can really be helpful to us in the long run by aligning us with our path or putting things in our path for us to like discover, if that makes sense. Now, during a lunar eclipse, the moon, the sun, and the earth are all in line with each other, which I think is super cool. It reminds me of that scene in Hercules where it's like the planets are aligned and the titans were released or whatever, but it's not as dramatic or as cool as that. Essentially, scientifically, all that happens is that the full moon turns kind of like this reddish color, which gives it this very dramatic name, the blood moon. So you might see practitioners calling this moon the blood moon as well, but there might be multiple blood moons in a year, so I find that a little bit confusing. Now again, you should be able to see the moon turn this beautiful kind of coppery, some people say red, I think it's more of like an orangey copper color, but you can see this occur again super early in the morning on the 8th or possibly the 9th, depending on where you are in the world. So let's pivot away from the lunar eclipse and focus on the astrology associated with this moon, right? So this full moon total lunar eclipse, which is a mouthful, is in the sign of Taurus, which is actually my moon sign. So I'm feeling very cozy and content. Tauruses are often seen as kind of a stubborn sign. They are represented by the bull. Tauruses are super loyal, and they are also very, not preoccupied, but appreciate kind of like the material luxuries, comforts of life, right? So again, Taurus, moon, I have 2 Tauruses in my coven. Like, I love Taurian Taurus energy. Like, it's just very grounded. Now, that being said, the lunar eclipse does tend to turn things on its head. I'm not going to say it's not going to be a chaotic time. I just tend to embrace the chaos and just allow the universe to put me on my path. So you might find that your home life is a little bit more chaotic, or perhaps your sense of stability or security is kind of shaky. But I think this presents a unique opportunity to connect with that earth energy that is associated with Taurus being an earth sign, and to ground ourselves during this time of potential chaos. So I do encourage you to do some grounding during this full moon. Now let's talk about some of the other names for this moon. You've heard me refer to it as the Beaver Moon and the Blood Moon. Now when discussing the Beaver Moon, my mind is immediately drawn to the animal that this moon is named after and the actions that this animal takes, right? And that is building dams. For me, I kind of see this this action like this fortification of your home. And I really think that concept of fortification of the home, of creation of the hearth, of protection for winter is really prominent right now. So when I think about home and hearth and protection and fortification of the home, I do tend to think of the beaver in comparison to maybe some of the other names for the moons, such as the pink moon or the flower moon that we've talked about this year. But that is what helps me remember the themes for this moon. Now, we talked about, again, the fortification of the home and hearth, but what are some other spiritual meanings behind this moon? Things that I would personally focus on would be cleansing and protection of the home, again, hearth magic, maybe even kitchen magic, if that is something that you are being called to. Sorry guys, there were like people yelling outside, so I guess the chaos is already beginning and we're a week away. But anyways, other things that I urge you guys to consider when working with the energies of this moon are the energies of Taurus or associated with Taurus. So again, material experiences, loyalty, stability, maybe stubbornness or hard-headedness, but that can also be good for enacting your will. You know, you can reframe it. So yes, especially for practitioners who don't necessarily want to be doing all of these big magical works during this lunar eclipse, I absolutely encourage you to engage with that self-care, engage with rest, and just treat yourself to something nice, you know? You deserve it. Now, for practitioners who do want to get a little bit fancy and maybe decorate their sacred space or even do some magic under moonlight, I recommend decorating your altar space with colors such as black, white, red, and orange just to honor the lunar eclipse, right? As well as dark blues, dark purples, dark greens, colors that are associated with the season, dark browns as well. I also recommend using stones such as labradorite, onyx, obsidian, anything protective to decorate your altar as well. These stones are also often very grounding, so it's almost like a twofer for me. It's like protective and grounding, so you can really connect with that energy of Taurus as well. That kind of grounded vibe that I get. Now, for my herbalists, I encourage you, as always, to focus on herbs that you can find still, I guess, sprouting or blooming if there are any in your area. I know where I'm at, things are starting to die down a little bit. There's still some green, but most of the trees are well on their way to being barren. You can also use protective herbs or cleansing herbs such as rosemary, clove, angelica root, sage, lemon, stuff like that. Again, I feel like there's a really big focus with this moon on the home and hearth and home protection ahead of like the darker parts of winter. So if you didn't do that during Samhain, or maybe you wanted to further your work from Samhain, this would be a fantastic time to do it. And finally, to wrap up, here are some ideas for activities that you can do to honor this moon if you so choose. The first one I wrote literally in all caps: protect your space. Seriously, guys, if you haven't done any protection magic, or if you are looking to start doing spell work, I love protection magic. I think it is wonderful. Blackthorn's Protection Magic, I believe, is the title of the book by Amy Blackthorn. Fantastic book to start with if you are interested in it. She's a wonderful author. And now this moon also continues on with themes of transformation that were evident during Samhain. I often find that lunar events that quickly follow like a major holiday on the wheel of the year still carry on some of that energy. So whatever Samhain energy, if you had any workings that you were particularly drawn to doing during Samhain that you didn't get a chance to do, maybe consider doing them during this full moon. And I also want to impress upon the importance of hearth and kitchen magic again, especially during this time of year. I feel like everyone I know is like getting sick right now, and I'm like desperately trying not to. I'm like chugging elderberry syrup, like please heal me. If you did want to go that route, maybe picking out seasonal produce or meats, figuring out what maybe some of their correspondences are, if you can find them, or maybe some folklore behind the vegetable or meats or animals, whatever. Or perhaps using a familial recipe or something that is significant to your heritage. And as I said earlier, this is a fantastic moon to really focus on self-care, and if you guys could just focus on it, just for me, like please just like treat yourselves to something nice and seriously show yourself some compassion. You're awesome and you deserve it. Finally, the last thing that I wanted to say, a great way to celebrate this moon is simply by enjoying the eclipse. Honestly, I love just witnessing nature be nature sometimes. Like as a witch, I'm just like, this is why I practice. Like this is it. This is amazing. So if you are not feeling inspired to do anything else, if you can, if you're like me and are waking up super duper early in the morning, maybe using that time to enjoy a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, maybe meditate and just be. I know that sometimes with the chaos of life, stillness can be really hard to come by. So if that is something that you are really craving, I encourage you to honor that and just enjoy the full moon. So that is all I have for you today. I feel like I've been talking for like a million years, but thank you so much for listening to me. And I'll see you guys on Friday. Bye.